Yo, we are at day 15. What a journey this has been. Can't believe it's already halfway through. It's going a lot faster than I expected it to go. And yeah, welcome to my 15th day of this challenge. And yeah, I really want to thank you all for supporting me on this journey. And if you're watching this one for the first time, this is video 15, as you can probably see. And I've gone through quite a journey from the beginning to get to here. And so if you're interested in the journey at all, check back on my previous videos and maybe even scan through it and see what you notice as a difference. If I seem more confident, I feel like I'm more confident, and I feel like I'm interacting with the camera a lot better than I was. And so my idea was to be more engaging, to learn to be more engaging, to connect with you on the other side. And ultimately, I want to make an impact. I want to make an impact upon this world. That's one of the things that I've been experiencing. When I go to say things that I don't have full conviction in, I will stumble upon my words. And the video, doing the one take video, is highlighting this massively. So as soon as I say something that is either something that I don't embody, or I'm trying to think about it too much, if there is something that I'm trying to impress upon the world or try to make myself out to be bigger than I am or smaller than I am, I often get caught up in the brain. Or it's a sign that I'm in my mind, because, and it shows me this through stumbling on my words. That's been a valuable lesson, because I notice that when I'm being real, I don't stumble on my words as much. I tend to slow down, take more pauses. I get really excited when I really want to, because something that I realized is that I hold back a lot in life, and especially on the videos. It's highlighting this to me massively. The times when I would hold back when I really want to go fiery and get passionate, and there's something that I want to say, and I go and say it with like half of the enthusiasm that I really want to use, that's really being asked for. And so the big lesson here is when we speak our truth and the things that we speak about, the things that we really love with no fire, they don't really carry any weight. There's no real substance to them. And so looking at, where are you holding back in your life? Like, where are you holding back saying certain things? Because that can often be an indication of what are you not allowed to say in the world? Who's watching you? And for example, every time that this comes up, that I stumble my words, there's usually someone in mind, or a particular person feeling like I want to impress them. And to shift that energy is like, well, okay, if that person's listening and they're watching, then great. And a little bit of fear just came up then. That's so interesting. Because once I go to say that I'm going to embody who I am and be who I am, the fear and the guilt arises in my body. There's like a feeling of that. And yeah, all of this is moving through all of it and speaking about it, because why not speak about it? Feel like it's relevant for it to be known. And it's those little feelings of fear that often lead to a contraction, to us going, oh, I'm just not going to talk about that thing. I'm not going to claim that thing. The biggest thing for me lately has been claiming my goals and desires, also claiming who I am and saying who I am, and not making myself small for the sake of other people. Now, this isn't the fault of other people. It's my interpretation of, let's say, my projection on them. That's mainly what the fear is. The fear is that thing that stops me from expressing who I am. And that thing is an imprint from people that I've learnt from over the years, from society, from my loved ones, from my friends and family. Because this is where we learn all our stories, we learn all our beliefs, we learn how to operate in the world. We learn what's okay to say, what's not okay to say. And so when we go to speak something that is different to that, it feels like an edge. Kind of walking this edge of going, if I say this, if this person watched it and listened to it, they either wouldn't receive it or they wouldn't get it. And if they don't get it, that also means that they'll probably think it's something against what they believe, because that's what often happens. We get two people in the same room, two people who can be debating God, and you can have let's say someone that is shamanic and they believe in Great Spirit, and then you have a Christian person who believes in God, and then you have an atheist who believes in infinity. And as far as I can tell, it's all the same thing, above everything. Their individual belief systems are different, the way that they view the thing. And so they look at these things that are below, like that are their own construct and their own beliefs, and say that the other person's wrong, when in actual fact they're all experiencing the same thing. They're experiencing the same infinite, indescribable concept, and attempting to put some sort of human words to it. And if those people would stop for a moment and look at what is above the thing that they're talking about, the meta concept, then they would actually see that, well, they're talking about the same thing, and maybe they can explore each other's views on the thing. And now, viewing the world in this way is helping me to alleviate some of the, let's say, even my own perspectives on things. Because I have my own biases, we all do. And there's things that I believe that someone's going to disagree with, and that's okay. Someone possibly disagrees with that concept as well, which is perfectly fine. And sometimes it's not time for a debate either, because I wouldn't want to have a conversation or an argument with someone that wasn't open to my view of the world. Now, this is also a mirror in itself, because if someone that I'm talking to is not open to my view of the world, there's a good chance that I'm not open to their view of the world either. This constant shifting of blame and pointing the finger, constant reflections and projections. And so there's so much to learn from that. Getting into meta concepts. I love digging into this stuff and really getting deep. And I'm going to allow myself to go into them more within these, so they may turn into some rants as I unleash. Yeah, that feels right. So, something cool that I did last night, I went to a public speaking space where I'm learning to do more public speaking, and it was really cool. So as a musician, I've been performing on stages for a long time. That's something that I'm used to, with a guitar in front of me. And yet, standing up on stage with a microphone in front of, it was 10 people. I could feel all the energy coming towards me. There was all of this attention on me. And this is what I'm imagining whilst I'm doing these videos. I'm imagining that there's like the whole entire world is watching me. That's the practice. And seeing if I can hold that energy. And so that's why all the individual people are coming up. And the biggest thing here is to stand in our own power, in our own body, and go, cool, I'm gonna state what feels right, what's right to me at the moment, and allow that to be it. And sometimes within my own psyche, as I'm speaking, I encounter those resistances. This is almost like having a heckler in a crowd. And so when those things come up, I'm like, how can I navigate those? How can I either discard them or maybe allow them to be there? If someone was heckling me in a crowd, it feels relevant to address that person in a non-aggressive way, perhaps. Maybe an aggressive way is correct, though. In a way that is not me attaching myself to them as a sense of my self-worth. So if someone yelled out, hey, you suck. If someone said, hey, like, you're too opinionated or you're too this, then I would go, okay, how can I navigate around this? Because ultimately, I haven't really put much of my opinions out here. That's the thing that I'm traversing, is like bit by bit by bit by bit, allowing more of it to come out. And these thoughts come up. The hecklers that come in before I actually express the thing, my inner hecklers. So he may come up against this when you are actually looking at doing your own videos, if you are doing any form of recording or stage speaking, simply getting up to play music in front of a crowd, poetry, anything where the attention is going to be on you. The idea that the attention will be on you. And so note this inner voice, because you will have inner hecklers. And these hecklers are kind of like, imagine that they've been planted there. They've been planted there by your friends and family, by your parents, by society, by your community, by your teachers. All of them have implanted certain things, and they haven't consciously done it. They've done it because that's the thing that they know. And if that's the thing that they know, then they're going to teach you that, because it makes you easily controllable. They can control how you think. Well, basically, if they can control how you think and how you view the world, then they know how to manipulate that. Yet if you break out of that, no one can control you. And if you look at this has been the prime example, is take a look at someone like Jordan Peterson over the years. He's been confronted with some massive, massive things. And I really admire the way that he's stood in his power within that stuff. Whether or not you agree with what he said, that's not relevant to this conversation. It's about someone doing what they believe is right, standing up for that, and perhaps making minor adjustments along the way. Not taking anything back, simply saying, hey, I stood up for what was right. And he's probably got more tact around how he approaches things now. Or he may be the same. That's also okay. Now, the reason I point him out is because he's been called in for all sorts of like defamation sort of charges for malpractice as a clinical psychologist, and he's not really practicing anymore. But he's been called out by these people. And so these would be, if we want to get really like, let's say quantum or spiritual about this, the things that we have going on inside of ourselves end up manifesting outside, and vice versa. It's like a macro, micro kind of thing, where if there's external hecklers, there's probably going to be a reflection of our internal heckler. And so it's really cool looking at the world in this way, because then we can only really point back to ourselves. That leaves no room for avoidance. There's only space for confrontation, to go, I'm going to look at this thing. I'm going to look at the fact that every single time I go to speak up, someone tells me to be quiet. Maybe, and for myself, I will make myself smaller. This is another thing that I've been working on, because the point of these videos, again, is to take up space. It's to be big. And I'll do it for a little bit and then that voice will come in. And so I'm working with that stuff at the moment. Dropping back into my body, dropping back into trust, and being present, because it is the best practice in presence. Doing something where we're being psychologically attacked or psychically attacked, whatever the thing may be. We may not even be, we may not actually be attacked by anyone. It can simply be our internal world. So let's say someone brings up a criticism and says, hey, you suck. How do I receive that? If I receive that and get offended, that's a sign of my inner world. A sign that my inner world is offended by someone saying you suck. To look at myself and go, am I telling myself that I suck? Am I deeply afraid of someone saying that they suck, that I suck? Because secretly, inside of my head, in my subconscious, I also believe that I suck. Maybe I can fully own that and say, yeah, I do suck. What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because sucking is the first step to being good at something. And so I'm going to keep turning up and suck at this. Now, I know I'm preempting negative comments and all of that sort of thing. I feel like that's part of the arena. For example, I don't know how many of you play games, say like play video games. I used to play a game called RuneScape years ago, and that was my go-to game. The framework is that when we step out of the main village, out of the main town or city, that we're going to be in some form of danger. This is part of the experience. The idea is that we go out there, there's going to be some spiders, and then there's going to be some skeletons. Then there's going to be some, some demons to fight. There's going to be, you name it. There's going to be a lot of different things that are trying to kill us. And so being aware of this makes sense to have a game plan. Well, when I get attacked by 3 monsters at once, well, what do I do? Am I going to run away? Am I going to confront them? Am I in an area that I'm way in over my head? In my own experience, if I'm pretending to be someone that I'm not, that will leave me vulnerable. I feel very vulnerable in that space, because if I'm pretending to be someone else, I'm already starting on the wrong foot. I'm trying to come from a place of like authority and claiming to know everything, claiming that I have all the answers, when in reality, I don't know all the answers. It's so humbling. And so speaking in front of the camera, one of the first things that came up was, well, what if what I say is wrong? What if someone proves me wrong around what I'm saying? What if someone's got holes to poke in the thing that I'm saying? Well, this is part of it. Being mindful about what opinions I do have. And do I believe them? Because the beliefs and identity that I put out into the world, if I don't back that, I'm going to have holes poked in it. And sure enough, even if I do have conviction in all of them, someone's going to try poke holes in them eventually, whether or not they leave comments or not. And so my plan within myself is like, do I validate where I am right now? Am I okay with my position in my own life? That's what I'm establishing when I do a video. And so yeah, that highlights a lot of things. Also, during this speaking experience, I was able to get up on stage, and he taught me a really cool trick. And it was like I was standing up there with a microphone talking, and he's talking about there's like an invisible wall. For example, if I go like this, it kind of breaks this wall, and all of a sudden it feels like we're closer and we're talking more. You may have noticed like an energetic shift just then. So that's something for me to practice. And because initially we kind of stand up there and it feels like all of this energy's on us. And that's what it feels like when we first speak to the camera. Like the camera's looking at me. The people on the other side of the camera are going to be looking at me. And that feels like pressure. And when he had me practice doing this, stepping forward, I actually did a step forward towards the crowd. And it felt like I was more in the room. And so this is things like hand gestures. And if I was sitting here talking like this and staying stiff the entire time, you may have a really, really hard time connecting with me. Whereas if I'm moving my hands and I'm sitting there feeling relaxed, also imagining that I'm actually reaching out through the camera and seeking to connect, because the whole purpose of this is connection. It's about not just how I can articulate my thoughts, it's about how I can articulate my thoughts and have them land, have them make sense. Have it so when you are listening, when you're watching this, what I'm saying, you can at least resonate with the fact that whatever he's saying feels like him. And that's what I'm going for now. There's going to be elements of teaching that will come into this journey. And it's almost like that has to be earned. If someone were to ask me to do something and say, hey, you've got a lot of expertise on this, I want you to teach me about this, that instantly puts me in a space of authority and I can teach about that. As far as these video things, I mean, there's stuff that I can teach. Ultimately, I'm sitting here in this space of, I'm practicing the art of speaking and looking at things like my articulation, how I'm coming across. Am I stopping? Am I just speaking incessantly? And so these are kind of inner dialogue things for myself. And you may find them helpful in watching these videos. I would hope that they were helpful. And if they're not, great. Maybe it means I've got work to do. Or maybe it means that we're not in resonance. If you have watched this far in the video, I'm guessing there's something in here that you're looking for, so. The thing that I learned last night, which was really cool, was imagining that you are with the audience. Imagine that you are putting your hand on their shoulder, the people that you're speaking with, people out in the crowd. And so you listening right now, you're in the crowd. And for me to imagine putting like a gentle touch on your shoulder as an acknowledgement, that energetically, by imagination, actually creates a link up. Now, you may not believe it, maybe a little bit woo-woo for you, and that's okay. It's more so of when you feel have you ever felt someone's presence in a room? You can feel when someone's in a room that you like or that you don't like. There's a vibe there. And someone's vibe may feel like daggers and arrows or fire, or it could feel like dangerous. And you may freeze up around that person. Then you have other people that it feels light and fluffy and fun, and you feel like you want to know that person more. Maybe you're curious about them. And that's a vibe that they put out. And you'll notice this with the way that people approach you, the way that people speak to you? Do people speak at you, or are they speaking to you? Very big difference. Speaking at means like, hey, listen to this. I don't really care about what you think. Speaking to someone is, I'm going to speak to you the way that you would write a letter to someone because you want them to receive it. And speaking is exactly the same. It's like you take a letter, you take your words, you wrap them up in an envelope, you address it to the person, and you say, hey, here, take this. This is for you. I would like for you to receive this message. And so you seal up the envelope, you post it to them. This is me putting up a YouTube video. This is me putting what I've done into an envelope it's labeled to whoever wants to receive it, whoever is drawn to receive it. You can insert your own name there. And so I hand that letter and I go, here you go. I hand that to you and you open it up and you read it and you go, thank you. That made my day. Or, I really don't like this news that you've given me. Could have any form of response to it. The idea is that you receive it and that you take the time out to receive it. You allow yourself to absorb that thing. Not to take on board beliefs, not to take on board ideologies or worldviews, to simply try on the thing, to try it out and go, let's see if this is for me. For example, anything that I've mentioned in this, if I mention any tips or tricks or tools or views of seeing things, they're things for you to try on and see if they work for you. Because they may not. Some may work. Some may just put that final puzzle piece on the board. And you go, whoa, fuck, what was that? That was cool. And so I realized that in me not taking to the things that I've been called towards doing, which is doing videos on here, which is doing public speaking, it is actually me denying someone a potential experience of me. There might be something that I've got within me, a lesson that once I can articulate it and speak it, that someone in this world is going to receive that as the thing that they needed to hear. They've been waiting to hear that thing. You may see it as insignificant. I may have said a bunch of things that seem insignificant. Perhaps to me, maybe it's not insignificant to you. Maybe it's very significant. And this is the value in speaking from this space instead of from here. Because I can retain knowledge and I can learn lots of things. I was learning this concept in Think and Grow Rich. And he was talking about the value isn't in knowledge. It's about, the value is in organized knowledge. The true value is being able to take a bunch of information, a bunch of knowledge, a bunch of things, a bunch of tools, whatever they may be, and package them together. Put them into the same place and deliver them in a way that's able to be received. That could be a course or a program, or it could be in this YouTube video. It could be on Instagram. It could be in a reel. It could be in a written post. It could be simply taking a photo of yourself. It could be a video of you dancing. It could be you dancing for yourself in your own room. It could be writing a book. It could be writing a play, movie. It could be you saying something nice to a friend. It could be you telling a friend the truth. Maybe they've been stuck for a long time. Maybe they deserve to hear the truth. Maybe you need the truth. Maybe I need the truth. I always want the truth. It sucks sometimes. It really sucks. Also, what did I say earlier? The first thing about being good at something is sucking at it. So If something, receiving information and feedback sucks, well, it's for a greater good. It's for the higher good, which is far beyond my own comprehension right at this point. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see where this journey takes me. And as you follow along this journey from these videos, like 6 months from now, there's going to be stage stuff on here, like me speaking on stage. There will be stuff around me teaching and coaching and videos from my events. And I'm really excited to see it grow. The podcast, there's so many cool things. And it's like, there's not really any time to not take action, because every time I'm not taking action on any of these things, I'm not creating them to be a reality. This doesn't mean doing stuff 24/7. It means setting the time aside to do it. And currently I'm working on that. Came up with a thing yesterday and I was like, how am I going to plug into myself for motivation? Because I've been looking at motivation from an external source for such a long time. I'm always looking for YouTube videos, Instagram, podcasts, and all of that. Even these videos that I'm doing right now. And they can start from a place of, well, we can receive a bunch of motivation and a bunch of wisdom and all of that. When are we going to start receiving it from ourselves? Because if you are unable to take your own advice or your own motivation, sourcing it from someone else is not going to be a fulfilling endeavor. Maybe temporarily. However, that thing can only be sourced from inside of you, truthfully. And maybe some external motivation, like hearing myself, can inspire that in you, saying that it is possible, because it sure as hell is. It definitely is. We can pump ourselves up the same way as someone in a podcast can do. Give us the answers. Yet we can also source them from internally. To take this example, have you ever given someone advice or motivation? Someone that maybe wasn't having such a good time in their lives. Maybe they were struggling with something and you came out with some golden wisdom. And then that other person didn't listen to you. Maybe they said yes, maybe they agreed with it at the time, and maybe they didn't take any action on it. The reason for this is because you're not actually taking your own advice and listening to your own inner motivational words. Maybe you're very caught up in the negative. It's like demotivational speech. On that final note, is your internal voice a motivational speaker or is it a demotivational speaker? Because it may be time for a flip. Because if you have a demotivational speaker, if you went on a podcast to find a demotivational speaker, they're not going to be very helpful. You wouldn't go to see their talk. You wouldn't want to go and actually experience who they are. You're not going to pay them money to help them out with your life. And so why would someone take your advice if you don't take your own advice? This is also, in the same breath, it's also important to have people around us that can point things out. This is taking advice from them and going, cool, how can I close this loop in myself and allow myself to motivate myself based off this? That is what I'm working with at the moment. So, midway point, it is day 15 and it's been a pleasure. I have a very, very intense next 2 weeks, and I've got two big events, a 3-day event and a 6-day event to attend. And so during that time, I'm going to be they're going to be very big days. I'll be endeavoring to do these videos in the morning before I go. And that's going to be a bit of a stretch and a challenge. Might bring out some more fire in me with that compression of time. So let's see how we go. Anyways, peace out.